Hello and welcome to a new video. So today we are going to be learning APIs for beginners. So right now I have actually built a small app using API, and actually I will show it to you. So this is a weather app. So here, if I actually inputted a name of a certain city and I click on get weather, the app will actually tell me the weather in New York is overcast clouds. And if I entered Miami, for example, it will tell me that the weather in Miami is clear sky. So no matter what city you enter, you will have results. But what if you have entered the wrong city or something that does make sense? So the app is very smart. It will tell you, hey, please enter a valid city. So we are going to learn how to use APIs today. We are going to be using Rapid API, and I will show you everything. If you are curious to learn more about APIs, you'll find a place right here in our channel that goes deep into APIs and so much more. But right now, let's get into the video. So before we get started, let me actually give you an example. So here's what an API does. An API is just the middleman between your app and a system or a database. All right, so we have FlutterFlow here, and it will give, for example, New York to the API. This is the weather API, and that weather API will go check New York, give it to a system or database where because the weather API has a system that has access to all the weather in all the cities of the world. So it will enter New York. So the system or database will do its work, will prepare the weather or the description of the weather in that city, and it will return the value to not FlutterFlow but API, and the API would then return the value to FlutterFlow. So API is the middleman. So if you want to send an email, you use an email API. If you want to get the weather, you will use a weather API. If you want to translate a text, you will then have to use Google Translate API. So if you need something that is outside of your app, like as I told you, weather translation, cryptocurrency values right now, you can do that using API, and it's very simple. And in this video, we are going to dive deep into it. So let's actually get into it. So the first thing we are going to be doing today is to go and use Rapid API. So Rapid API is a hub where you can actually find a lot of APIs, some for cybersecurity, like we have here LinkedIn profile data. We have a lot of things here that you can use, like Facebook scraper. So we have pretty much all the APIs that you need are right here inside Rapid API. And you can actually visit Rapid API, create your account. It is completely free, which is very awesome. So now let's actually go ahead and find our API. So the API we are going to be using is going to be called Open Weather. All right. So this is actually going to give us all the things that we need when it comes to weather and stuff like that. So right now that you have actually created an account with the Rapid API and you found an API, so I will show you how you can read API, and you can pretty much apply it to any other API here in the platform. So right now let's actually understand this API. So to make it very simple, here in the endpoint, so each API has endpoints, all right, and we don't want to complicate things a lot. And as I told you in the intro, you can check out the API playlist here in the channel if you want to learn more. So here, when you click on the first endpoint, which is called current weather by city name, so we give a city name, and they will actually, and the API will tell us the weather in that city. So the code snippet is very important to read and understand. So here they told that the method is get. So what is get? So in APIs we have a lot of methods. So let me show you. So here we can have API call. We have get, post, delete, put, and patch. And don't complicate things, because if you have used database before, you know that we can create, read, update, and delete. These are the same. So get is reading, like you get information from your API. Post is you tell the API to create a certain document or row. Delete is delete, and these two are updates. Each one does its own type of update. So we have read, reading, creation, deletion, and these are updates. All right, so these are the API methods or HTTP methods. So now this is the method you are going to use. So this API will only return some value. You cannot use this API to create or update or delete. It will only allow you to get the data. So let me actually zoom in a little bit. So what is the URL? So each API is a URL. So for example, they have given an example of a city. So they have the link here, and the city is called New York, and the language is in English. So let's copy that link and paste it here on the web. Of course, you will have some problems because you need an API key. So just to show you, so some APIs are public. You can have access to them without an API key, but this one requires an API key, which we will do later. So this is how you can actually access the API is by using its link. So the link is like where it is living. So you cannot go to someone and visit him or her if you don't know where he lives. So this is the same. You cannot call an API if you don't know where it lives. And these are the headers. So the headers are required. So you can call an API by using its link. Plus, you need to provide some headers. Why? So headers like, so the API knows that you are a legit person. You are not like a hacker or something like that. You are a legit person, and the API call is coming from your app. So when you provide these headers, you are somehow telling the API, hey, don't worry, this call is coming from my own app, so just give me the results. So pretty much this is all you need to know when it comes to reading a GET API. It's pretty much the same no matter what you are using. Of course, there will be some few things that are different, but always just make sure to have shell here and curl, so you can just have your code snippet like this. So you can have, so just keep in mind URL and headers are very important. So these are very important if you want to add an API call. So let's actually go ahead and add an API call inside of FlutterFlow. So here we are inside FlutterFlow. So you can just go here to API, and if this one is a paid paid feature, you have to pay for it, and maybe you need some money, you can actually go ahead and check our community, and you'll find an earn with Learn No Code. So this course will just show you how you can actually make some money with Learn No Code. So you can actually go ahead and invest in your app or pay for FlutterFlow basic plan, so you can unlock all of its features. So maybe you can check this one out, and of course we will be so happy to have you with us. You can join the community where we can talk about things about like FlutterFlow, how we are building, what technology we are using. If you have any question or problem, you can come here and ask questions, and we will be so happy to help you. So make sure to join our community using the link below, and we will be so happy to have you with us. So here back in FlutterFlow, we can just add an API call, and then it's called a get. So let's just give it a name, get the weather, or let's call it just weather. So now they will ask for the API URL, or where is this API, like where it is on the web. So the web is a very huge place. So where is your API? So let's close this one. So let's go to the URL, copy everything, but just you must end with rapidapi.com. Don't copy these. These are parameters. You don't have to copy them. All right. Just like that. All right. So now you might be asking, where are these, like city and language? Don't worry, because these are parameters. So when we do our API call, we are going to paste them dynamically. Sometimes we will paste New York, sometimes Washington, sometimes Miami, sometimes it depends. All right. But the language should be always English. So just EN. If you want another language, you can actually display it. So now this is actually where it gets very interesting. And don't worry, because I have already made a video called Edge Functions. So even though this is called Edge Functions, it is actually the same as APIs. If you want to understand more about APIs or Edge Functions, you can actually check out this video. It's very important. So here in the headers, you can just add two headers right here. And then the first header is going to be X API host. So you can copy it all. All right. And then paste it here. All right. So the one common or must have, header is going to be this one, application JSON. All right. So that when it returns, it will return a JSON. We will see what is a JSON, and we will test everything. Don't worry. So this is the first header. So second header is going to be here. So copy this one, and then just get here. So right now you can just add an API call. So now you have your API call. Right now you must add those parameters. So what are the parameters that we need? So the headers, as I told you here, we need this header. So we have already pasted the header right there, and we need the parameters. The parameters city, it is required, as you can see here, and the language is called lang. All right, and we can just paste en or fr if you want it in French, or ar if you want it in Arabic. So they have given you the language that are supported Not every language is supported, but some languages are supported, obviously. So for the parameter here, we have city and we have link. The thing is that if you want, so where this city and language, where they will come from, we will not be adding specific value. Of course, it will be a variable. So the user will enter the city and will choose the language. So you got the idea, right? So now how can we allow the user to add? So when you click on or when you create a parameter, they will ask you a specific value, but you don't want that. You need a variable. So here a variable, you need a variable first. So for the city, we need its variable here. So for each parameter, we create a variable. All right. So it's string, and you can just have New York as a default variable, and for the length, you add its string, and you just add en for English. So right now you come here, and then for the city, now you have a variable. You link it to its variable. This one again. And so each one is linked to its proper variable. All right, so create a variable so you can pass data to the API, and then you have the parameters. So the most important ones are headers and parameters, and then variables are only there to just allow the app to pass some data. Because if you have no variable, there is no way you can take any information from, let's say, a widget like a text field and give it to the API. There is no way you can do that. All right. So when it comes to APIs, we can actually test everything right here without having to go to test mode. So we'll go to response and test. We will enter a city and then the language. And this is the link that we are going to be using. So let's click on test API, and like we will have this problem, and it is because the endpoint. So what is the endpoint? The endpoint is somehow the link. So we have a problem where in our link right here. So let's actually go back to API and let's actually try to. So the problem is we have just cut the link right here, right? But the thing is that you have to copy the entire link. So we just made that mistake, and don't make it, all right? So just now when you click on save, when you have your full URL, so whichever API you are using, always make sure to paste the full URL. So I made a mistake because, some APIs, they don't include those parameters in the link, so you can just copy what's before and it will work just fine. And we have just done that in the edge function video I have showed you before. So but this one, it doesn't work. So what you should do for any API to copy the entire URL they have given you. All right, so right now let's actually go to response test, and now we have that problem. Let's click on test, and now they have actually given you the longitude, the latitude, like the coordination of that, and we have the weather, and we have ID, main, description, icon. We even have an icon to it. All right, that's insane. All right, so we have clear sky, we have like main, and we have description. So we can have a lot of, they are giving you a lot of information, and we are going to know, or we are going to learn just in the next part, where we are going to be testing this right inside our app. It's a real test. It's just an internal test. We will have a real test. We will actually see how you can actually check, for example, just the ID, or you can just display that it is clear. So just choose one piece of information to display it. All right. So let's actually go ahead and try another city. For example, let's say where I live. So see now, yes, it is today is kind of cloudy. All right, and they have just did that very good. So you can choose another language like French. See here, like, yeah, they haven't changed the main, but in the description they have actually changed it. Let's say Arabic. All right, so see, they have given the results in Arabic, but I actually think that the language should not be a variable. Here's why: because the language should be always English for us in a situation. So how we can make it? So now the variable, like the language is not going to be a variable. So in the query parameter in the language, we don't say from a variable, we specify so it can always be English. All right, so when you specify now the value, which is a specific value for the language will always be English. All right, you can change the city but not the language. So let's actually now go ahead and make a real test. So right now, let's actually talk about what we call JSON path. So before we go and make a real application, we need to understand what are JSON paths. And whenever you do a response test, they will actually give you a list of recommended JSON paths. But now you have to understand what are JSON paths and how to build your own JSON path, so that you can, whatever situations you are in, you can always have your own JSON path. So here's the thing. So when you look at this, let's actually have a look at the response. So what do we have? We have like, what are the information? So this one is an information, and the next one is weather. Why? Because you see that they have separated that by a comma, and they are not at in the same line. So weather is the second one. So you keep going until you meet your comma. So weather it is the second information. We have base is the third information. We have comma. We have main, and we have this one is all of it is a information. So you notice that we have three types of information. We have complex information, where inside of the coordination you have two data. So this is what you can actually call it complex information or complex return. You can call it whichever you want. That's complex. It is not just one. It has multiple inside. So this one is not a complex. It's an array. Why? Because it has these brackets. So it's not only one complex. It can be three. Like it can return let's say 4 rows. It can return ID number 1, 2, 3, 4. So the weather is an array. So this is the second type. Array can have a lot of complex information. So this is just one complex, but with weather you can have multiples built inside. All right, so when it comes to the base, it's simple. Like you just have the base, and here's the information. All right, so main is a complex one, so it's not an array because it starts with curly braces. Not an array. That's a what? So what do we call this? It's a complex information. Visibility is a simple one. Wind is complex. Clouds is complex. All right, and then simple, complex, simple. All right, so we have complex information that has 2 data inside it or more, 3 or 4. Like main has, let's say, 6 or 7. So for the weather we can have a list. So it returns the list of rows. All right, and main just have one, like it's just complex and stuff like this. So now how do we add a JSON path? So now you need to ask yourself, let's say you want to show the user the coordination. You just want to show all of it, just, the longitude as well as the latitude. All right, you just want to show it. How can you do it? So you first add a JSON path, and then you specify, you have a $sign, you have dot, and then you mention the return. You can mention coordination, weather, but you cannot mention the longitude. Why? Because the longitude is inside the coordination. So let's try to mention the longitude directly. You see, it will return nothing. Why? Because when you say so the first specification must be either coordination, weather, base, main. Those the ones are in the first place. You see here, main, visibility, they are here. The others are inside of them. So, but you might be asking, how can I actually get the longitude? So let me show you. So first of all, you do coordination. So here's, they will show you the results. So when you do coordination, they will return you all of that, like that entire information, which contains the longitude and the latitude. So for the users, they won't like looking at this. This is for developers, but for users, showing them this doesn't make sense. So you have to specify. So let's actually check the latitude, for example. So how do we do it? So it's very simple. Another dot, and you say latitude. It will show you the latitude directly, which is this one. All right, let's do another example. We will have a lot of examples here. So by the way, this is, if you want to call it, you can actually call it latitude and just save it there. So see, if you want to preview it, but you don't need to because you already have it here. So add another JSON path. This will be, let's say I want to see actually the base. All right, so The base is just one information. It's not complex, all right? So, but for the coordination, since now coordination has latitude and longitude inside them, that's why we have added coordination, then latitude. But for the base, it's a simple information. We can just have base right there, and it will return stations. All right. So right now we have seen how to actually get an information from a complex one, which we show, like we have made an example, and how to get from a simple one. You just enter the name and that's it. But what about an array? As you can see here, we have an array. So how about that? Like, how can we do it? So it's very simple. Let's actually go and let's try to add, let's say inside the weather, we want to know, for example, description. All right. So we have weather. So look at the results. You see here the results. It has returned all the list, and you can see that it is a list here. So you can turn it off if you like, but that will change nothing. But let's actually try to. So if you only want one, you do like this. All right. You turn off the list and you specify this one. So when you do this, you just return that. Like, since you only have one, let's say you only have one, that entire list only has one item. You just turn off list there, and then you make this. All right. But let's say you only want the one at index number 0. So this is the first one, and it's the first in the list, and its index is 0. But when you try 1, it will return nothing, because right here we have, here is the index number 1. Sorry, index number 0, but below which we have nothing. That's why when you specify index number 1, it returns nothing. So you can just specify 0, but then it still does look ugly. So we want description. So we can click it here, description. All right. So now this is exactly how you can actually be more specific. So we have seen the 3 example. All right, here, you can actually just, say, for example, this one, just give it a name, description. So now what you have learned. So what you have learned now is that you can actually, if you have a complex information like coordination, which has 2 informations inside, it's not a simple one, it has more than 1 information inside. You can just say $, you specify that group of information, and then specify that information you need inside it. If you have a simple one, you just specify it. But if you have an array, like array is almost like the complicate, like the one, but with this one here. So you just add the index. You want the first item in the array, the second item in the array. So the first one is going to be index 0, the second one index 1, so on and so forth. Just make sure to turn off the list right here in the type. So right now, let's actually make a real app with that. So we want actually an API call. So what happens is that user will enter he will enter a city here, and then we will actually return that. Let's actually click here and an API call. Click here, and then the API is called weather. So the return, you can just call it return. So right now the app will ask you for variables. So please make sure to input those variables. Like say city here. So city comes from the widget stage. All right. So if the API worked very well, like if everything went well, then it will display the weather for the user. We have info. It will say results. Here here we will say the weather in. Then we mention the city is, and we mention the results. So it's going to be like here we say, hey, the weather in space. Then we actually mention the city he entered, which is here in the text field. So the weather in Miami, the weather in New York, depending on what he brought here. So after that, we say a space between this one and what's coming here is another space. Click here, and then here is where we display the result. So click on action output, since the API is inside an action. Click on API result. Here we have JSON body, here JSON path, and here you say, so now we want actually the weather, like because it returns only one ID, so sorry, one item in the array of weather. So we just say brackets 0, and then here we say description. All right, description. So click on confirm, click on confirm. So here we say just thanks. So right now we have built a real app. So let's actually go ahead and test it. So here we are in the test, and let's actually enter you know, a city. Let's say Mumbai, for example. Click on get weather, and now it has gotten the weather, and we say, hey, result, the weather in Mumbai. So the weather in Mumbai is smoke. Right, thanks. Say New York. Click get the weather. Say the weather in New York is overcast clouds. All right. Say another one, like let's say Miami. All right. I don't know what I have, like what's wrong with me with this Miami. I always spell it wrong. So let's click there. So the weather in Miami is clear sky. All right. So let's actually try X, Y, and Z, and it will return nothing. All right. It will return nothing. So it's you know, they will tell you the weather in XY is null. All right. So, you know, that might be a problem. So to avoid that, we will say, all right, so if the API has succeeded, it is still not enough. We will say that if it was null, let's say, I will say here, if you know, the return, the weather that it has returned, if let's say API response options, JSON body, and then JSON path, and weather the description. So if this one, let's say it was not set, so it means that, so what it means, if it is not set, then we return an error. All right. So this one will come this way. So if it is unset, if when we ask the API, it found that there is no weather for that city, it will show info. It will show error. All right. So hey, please enter a valid city. All right. But in case when we did the API, the result was so the opposite of unset. What was the opposite of unset? It is set. What was set mean? Set means that you like there is some result, and we show that result. All right. So if it is unset, we show an error. If it is set, we show the actual result. So let's actually test that and see if it works or not. So here we are. Let's actually try to enter a valid city. We can click here on get weather, and it will tell you the weather in Kaza is overcast clouds. But when you say XYZ, then click on get the weather, it will tell you, hey, please enter a valid city. See, this is actually how you can make the app much powerful. And if you want to choose, if you want to switch this condition to set, let's say you say if the description is set. So if it is set, or if like, you know, just the description is set, means it is real. There is some result. It's not null. It's something else. It's like clouds or smoke or whatever. Only then you can actually show, you know, you can just switch them. So if the description is set, you show that weather, and if it is not set, which means that there is no description, there is no weather for that city because the city does not exist, you show them an error. So this is exactly how you can use APIs. So we have just made a very simple you know, video, and we have just made a simple example of APIs. There are a lot of things to do, and you can actually go to the APIs playlist on this channel, and you can learn more. And please, before you leave, make sure to always join our community. This community is meant for people just like you who are interested in learning FlutterFlow, and you can come here, share your thoughts, and if you have a problem, you can share it with us in the questions tab, and we will be so happy to help you, like no matter what problem you are facing is. And if you are curious about learning, you can go to the classroom tab, and you can find a ton of courses. As I told you before, you can start here, so you can actually just, you know, get to know the community. Here is where I will show you how you can make money with Learner Code, so you can pay for the FlutterFlow basic plan, or just make money so you can invest in your app, or pay for the Google Play or the App Store. And here, if you want to learn more about social media app, AI app, offline app, inside of what I call FlutterFlow Mastery, this is a list of courses that will teach you exactly how you can become a master in FlutterFlow in no time. So please make sure to join our community using the link below. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.